everybody. This is Behind the Voice, and I'm your host, Chris Diaz. Let's make it happen. Alright, let's get started with a little news. So, today in New York City, a helicopter crashed in the East River. The pilot reported problems keeping aloft, and one woman ended up dying while 4 were injured. And when I saw this, it was breaking news here on local stations, and I sort of just shook my head in sort of amazement and disappointment and shock and all sorts of things. This this city has dealt with a whole heap of mess over the last decade, ever since 9/11. And this year has been particularly difficult with Hurricane Irene, the small earthquake that I'm sure scared quite a lot of people. Not to mention, a few years ago when the plane landed in the Hudson River, which again, very frightening for those who were there on that day and for those on the plane. This city has endured a lot. And, my question is, when is it going to end? How many more massive tragedies are we going to have to see? Is it bad luck? Is it, I don't know what it is. It's kind of scary. You have to wake up every day here wondering what's going to happen next. Of course, this is New York City. There's crime and there are tragedies. All you have to do is turn on your nightly news around here, and you'll see some sort of crime-related story or some sort of negative news. But these huge, monumental, disastrous events continue to happen here. I don't wish anything bad on any other state or city, but if something bad has to happen, why does it always have to be us? I don't know. It's just kind of, it's a double-edged sword, because it makes living here scary, but it also makes us tougher. And it's why we can brag as New Yorkers that we're tough and we've endured and we can handle anything. I remember when Hurricane Irene hit and when the earthquake hit, places where those natural disasters are more prevalent, people in those areas said, "Oh, that was a minor earthquake, or that's only a Category 1 hurricane. Those New Yorkers think that they can handle so much." And others were saying things like, "Oh, those New Yorkers think that they can handle so much, but they don't really know what's headed their way." And I think we've proven time after time after time that we're gonna get up, dust ourselves off, and keep on trucking. That's just the New York way. All right, let's move on to the next story. So I guess I was wrong about NBC, as they canceled their first new show of the season. The Playboy Club gets scrapped, and this, I'm a little bit shocked about this, because I thought NBC had a good lineup coming into the new TV season. I didn't particularly think that the Playboy Club was going to be one of their top new shows, but with the amount of advertising it was getting, I thought, and considering that shows like Mad Men and other period piece shows were proving to be successful, I thought, well, here you go. This is something that's going to get a big audience, a big chunk of an untapped audience. The mid to older adults, sort of everyone 30 and older, I think, would have enjoyed this show. And I actually saw the season or the series premiere and I thought it was kind of quiet, a little cheesy, but then again, shows like that can take off. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Desperate Housewives. I think that show is the cheesiest, yet it's hugely successful, and I thought this one would be as well. But apparently it's not. And the Parents Television Council released a statement basically stating their support for the cancellation and explaining their initial disdain for the show. And here's where I have a problem. Okay, the show did have some racy subject matter. However, these committees and councils and organizations and these groups, these advocacy groups, some of them are just simply annoying. I would understand if the Playboy Club aired, say, at 4 in the afternoon. You know, kids are getting home from school, taking a break to watch a little TV, and they see this on. I would also understand if NBC was a network that had a huge audience of those who are, say, 15 or 16 and under, yet they don't. That's not their prime demographic. So why groups like this speak out when it's really not necessary is just annoying. It's just flat out annoying. You want to complain about some programs that are on, specifically on channels that your children watch, and specifically at times that your children should be watching TV, because I don't think 9 or 10 p.m. at night, a child who's even 12 or 13 should be in bed by that time. As you start getting older into the late teens and early 20s, well, then they can watch whatever they want. It's that simple. Stop complaining. Take the fight where it really matters. I don't think it mattered in this case. It's kind of annoying. And just as a side note, a personal problem I have with NBC is that they are they're sort of on the fence about canceling one of my new favorite shows, Free Agents. I believe I spoke about this in an earlier show, and I thought it was a great show. I thought it was sophisticated yet funny enough to reach a broad audience. I thought it was something new, it wasn't a recycling of the shows we've seen before, the doctor dramas, the crime dramas, the godforsaken vampire werewolf surge that we're getting on TV now. It was fresh, it was new, I liked it, and I'm sad to see that they're on the fence about it, and they're probably close to canceling it. What they're going to fill the time with, I don't know. I mean, they can always keep running America's Got Talent, because it seemed like that show was on 3 or 4 days out of the week. And while, okay, I understand it's popular, seeing it over and over again is just, it gets old very quickly. But anyway, okay, so iPhone Mania. I talked about this on a previous show, and just yesterday it was released into the public. The iPhone 4S is out there, and there are all sorts of offers. I saw on eBay a trade-in offer where you can trade in your old iPhone or even an old Android-based phone and get a considerable amount of money towards this new iPhone. And on CNN.com, there's an article talking about one of the new programs that's on the iPhone, which is the Siri or Siri, whatever it's called. You probably know what it is. You can correct me if you'd like. But this program allows users to, quote, bark commands or ask questions to the iPhone. Now, Through my experience with voice activated or voice recognition software, whether it's on GPS systems or phones or computers, this sort of technology has not lived up to my expectations. It's always been shown as this revolutionary technology where basically you can talk to your appliances and devices and everything works seamlessly and effortlessly. But that has not been the case. And I think if any company is going to make it work, make it popular, and make it user friendly, it's Apple. And I guess we're going to have to wait for the outpouring of reviews that come after the average consumer buys this phone to see whether or not this voice activated or voice recognition system is actually worth even having. I'm not going to have my hopes high because I still think we're a long way from having a smooth running program of this kind. But like I said, if there's any company that's going to make it happen and make it cool and make everyone want to get it, it's Apple. So if you if you're going to get the new iPhone, email me or write on the Facebook page or write on the YouTube page. Let me know how it goes. I personally will not be testing this phone out, but I will be talking to people who I know are interested in buying it, and I would love to hear back from the listeners on how this is going, on how it measures up, and how much of an improvement it is from the previous model. All right, we're gonna go on to a little psychology news. So, a study out of Johns Hopkins um, showed that a single use of the mushroom drug, the hallucinating drug, can lead to long-lasting personality changes, particularly with imagination, aesthetics, feelings, abstract ideas, and general broad-mindedness. Just another reason. I don't know how many of these articles are going to have to come out, how many times we're going to have to hear news reports, how many research studies we're going to have to read before we realize to not get anywhere near this stuff. I know people in my age group and even younger who think, oh, just want to experiment, or everyone else is doing it, or I only did it once. But this is not the only article about the only drug that shows that one use can have pretty severe effects. I know that ecstasy in research has shown to have long-lasting brain damaging effects where it literally erodes the brain. I mean, of course, you can provide anecdotal evidence for these drugs not really doing too much to people in the long term, but why take the risk? It's like playing roulette with your brain. Why do that? For what? One night of, you know, mind-altering ridiculousness where you could possibly kill yourself in the middle of a hallucination? I don't think it's worth it. And I think we need to keep pumping out research like this to show people that it's not worth it. It's not worth it, even if it's only once. Alright, moving on. A research study out of Brown showed that online daters are reluctant to use partisan politics to attract potential mates. So they're choosing not to pick a side, left or right, Democrat or Republican. They don't want to, at least they don't want to announce it publicly on their profiles on these online dating sites. And I'm sure even dating outside of the technological world, I guess if you go on a blind date or you date someone at work, These issues, I'm going to assume, won't come up early on in the relationship or in the dating. And if they do, unless you have someone who's really just who has CNN on and MSNBC and listens to all the political radio shows, unless you have someone like that, it's really not going to be a huge issue. And I like that. I don't like when people sort of announce, they announce their side and they sort of preach almost, and it's annoying, and it really is a turn off. I would hate to meet a girl that does nothing but talk about politics, and you can speak passionately about something, but there is a line. There's a fine line between passionate and, I don't know, for lack of a better word, annoying. There's a fine line, and you can really put someone off that way. It's not the best idea to take your stance, and it's also not a good idea to turn someone down if they have an opposing opinion in politics. It would be ridiculous if you met someone who sort of fulfilled your dating checklist, if you will, except for this one small area where they don't agree with you politically. Say you're on the right and they're on the left, and you say, you know what, I'm not dating this person anymore because I can't speak to or be around someone who supports such and such president or senator or whoever, or who doesn't agree with Bill O'Reilly or Bill Maher or whoever. It's ridiculous. Keep things casual. Don't be overly passionate to the point of annoying about anything, whether it's politics or sports or anything. Sort of keep as much balance as you can. I think that's what a study like this. I think that's the best you can take from a study like this. All right, and on to some sports. Really quickly, the NBA has canceled its preseason games, and it looks like we will not be having basketball this season. And I'm kind of upset about this because I think it's happening for all the wrong reasons. I think the NBA is pulling pulling the wrong move just because the NFL did it. Now the NFL just got by, and luckily the regular season started on time and we have football. But I think it sort of reminds me of what went on in Egypt. How the riots and the uprising started in Egypt, and it seemed like country after country followed after them, thinking, okay, the people rallied and overthrew the government, so why can't we do it? And I think the NBA is trying to accomplish the same thing. They're thinking, well, the NFL didn't. They sort of they stopped action to try and get what they want. Why can't we do it? And I think they're going to find out they're going to lose a lot more. From top to bottom, from the owners all the way down to administrative assistants who work for the teams. It's going to affect everyone. The players will not play. That means another year will go by, and it will affect the older players who are looking to get another year or two before they retire. It's going to affect players who are looking for a bounce back year. It's going to affect players who need rhythm and who need consistency to keep their game at the top level. It's going to affect everyone. People are going to lose money. Cities are going to lose money because sports attract people and they attract tourists, and it's just not it's not going to be good in any way. I think it's a greedy move. I think it's poorly timed. I think its motivation is really off. I think its motivation is wrong. And I really want to see some basketball. I've been a basketball fan since I was a kid. And to see this go down the way it's going down, I don't like it. And I'll keep you updated on that. All right, with no football action until the weekend, I'll move straight on to baseball. And in a do or die situation, the Yankees came through yesterday. And they scored 10 runs, which is not shocking. This is the number one scoring offense in all of baseball. You know their lineup from 1 to 9 can really do damage. So it's not shocking that they rallied and scored that many runs. The biggest shocker was A.J. Burnett's performance. I have to admit, I was skeptical and I sort of went into the game, into watching the game. I sort of went into it with not such high hopes. He's been the biggest crapshoot you can ever find. He's either brilliant or he's terrible. And this season, he's been terrible more often than brilliant. Now, I know leading into the postseason, his game was improving, and he got a few wins, and he lowered his ERA, and his strikeout rate was up. But in a big pressure situation, I don't think he had the mental toughness to do it, and he proved me wrong. The first inning, he looked like he got in trouble. The bases were loaded, and Granderson bailed him out with a great catch. And from then on, it looked like he gained a lot of confidence. He was throwing strikes. He was using his breaking ball effectively. He pitched the Yankees. If the Yankees move on to the ALCS, it's because of Burnett. And I know people might disagree. They might say, oh, it's because of the offense or because Nova did so well in Game 1. No, it's because Burnett. They had to win this game. They would have been eliminated. And they rested their entire season on his shoulders. That's a lot to ask for from a guy who has done so terrible this season and who went from a starter to a bullpen guy. That's a lot to ask for, and he came through. It's as simple as that. So there will be a Game 5 tomorrow. It's going to be Von Nova against Doug Fister. Rematch of the weird Game 1 where they both pitched in relief. And with the Yankees going back home, I think they're going to pull it off. I think they're going to make it happen. I have a good feeling. And at least we know who their opponent would be if they do make it to the ALCS. As the Texas Rangers finished off the Rays season yesterday with a 4-3 win, I believe it was. Adrian Beltre knocked in 3 home runs. 3! I believe he was the 6th or the 7th man in postseason history to have 3 home runs in a game. He caught me by surprise because he has been quiet most of the season. After his breakout season with the Red Sox, everyone expected great things, and he didn't have a poor season. He hit well, but he didn't have that sort of attention-grabbing season that he did with the Sox. But he sure did get everyone's attention yesterday. And he homered the Rangers' way into the next round. And I think whoever faces them, the Yankees or the Tigers, I think they're going to have a tough time with that lineup. They score a lot of runs, and they're scrappy. They're scrappy. And let me tell you something. People underestimate their pitching. I think they have some pretty good pitching. I mean, their ace is a guy who the Yankees will offer $120 million this offseason. I think that says enough about their pitching. So whoever faces them is going to have their hands full. And the Phillies scraped out a win 3-2 yesterday and took a 2-1 lead in their series. And, I mean, this series is moving sort of at the pace I thought it would. I said the Phillies were going to win in 4. I didn't think the Cardinals... I think the Cardinals were tired coming into the series. I don't think they had nearly enough offense to take on that superb pitching rotation. So, that's that. And for the Brewers came into Game 3 with a 3-0 lead. I mean, with a 2-0 lead in the series. And I predicted they would sweep. I thought they would take Game 3 in Arizona. But the Diamondbacks had another agenda. They weren't going to let that happen. And they crushed the Brewers 8-1. Which is really shocking. I mean, okay, they were at home, so they had home field advantage, but they scored 8 runs against a Brewers pitching staff that's pretty decent. But I still think the Brewers are going to pull it off. Even if the Diamondbacks win Game 4, I don't think they can beat the Brewers in Milwaukee. So as I have it, my prediction with the Rays was wrong. I thought the Rays were going to win in 5. So currently my predictions are the Yankees and the Rangers in the ALCS, and the Brewers and the Phillies in the NLCS. And I actually think if the Brewers and Phillies do meet in the NLCS, the Brewers will beat them. I think their offense can outslug them. And if they can sneak by, because they're going to have to face Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay twice in a 7-game series. If they can scrape by 1 or 2 wins there, and then take the other 3 in Milwaukee, I think they could pull it off. And I think the Yankees could take the Rangers. They own them in the regular season, and they would have a lot of momentum on their side if they come back in the division series against the Tigers. So that's that for sports. Stay tuned for more on the Major League Baseball playoffs and more on the NBA talks and whether or not they're going to come to an agreement and we're going to have basketball. Alright, so this day in history, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch earned their #1 hit with Good Vibrations. And yeah, there it goes. This song, man, okay, as a child, when it came on, I enjoyed it, but now I sort of recognize how cheesy it is. But you can't deny if you're in a party or you're out having a good time, you've had a couple drinks, and that song comes on, you will get up and dance, or it will get you moving. As cheesy as it is, it's still one of those songs that will get you in the groove. And on that note, we'll move on finally to the song of the show. Now I'm going to go back to a bit of a dance, techno type of song, as I did in the very first show. This one has a more lyrical, it's more lyrically dominated rather than melodically and instrumentally. So just be on the lookout for that, and I think it's a great song. So here it goes.
Good morning, midnight, hello again. If I don't close my eyes, days never end. Tick, tick, tock, tock, who's keeping time? Throw away the stopwatch, losing my mind. I'm so fixed on this in a dream. I'm so fixed on this high that I found. Once you touch the sky, there is no coming down. Seconds turn to minutes, and the minutes turn to hours, and the hours turn to days, and the world goes round and round and round and round and round.
Okay, that was Bastian Laval with Restlessness. And I'm sure you can find that in various forms and in various remixes. And that's going to wrap it up for today's show. You can find me on Facebook at Behind the Voice. Follow me on Twitter at Behind the Voice 5. You can also find me. You can also listen to the show currently, where it's only available now on YouTube at Behind the Voice 5. You can also email me any questions or comments or suggestions at nyyfan555 at hotmail.com. That's nyyfan555 at hotmail.com. And that's gonna put a stamp on this one. So long.